Viewer discretion is advised before we begin. This video is intended solely for educational and entertainment purposes. The content is based on confirmed federal courtroom testimony, as reported by Inner City Press. We've reached day 10 of the Diddy trial, held in a crowded Manhattan courtroom that's become ground zero for what many are calling one of the most consequential scandals in music history. Once again, the unexpected happened. Another high-profile figure took the stand, and another long-hidden truth was brought to light. This time, it was Ashton Kutcher, known to millions as a light-hearted actor, the prank show host, a rom-com favorite, and a respected tech investor with a clean-cut image. Ashton showed up in court under very different circumstances. On that serious spring morning, he wasn't there to entertain or be admired. He was there to testify. And the moment he took his seat, the courtroom's atmosphere changed. Gone was the familiar celebrity persona. Sitting in that witness chair was a man facing uncomfortable truths. The prosecutor moved quickly, asking, "Mr. Kutcher, do you recognize this image?" Ashton barely looked before his expression shifted. It was a blurry screenshot from 2009, showing him with his shirt unbuttoned, drink in hand, laughing in a dimly lit room. The image background was filled with blurred figures, but Ashton stood out clearly. "Yes," he confirmed, "that was at Diddy's white party." And with that simple answer, the facade began to crack. What followed wasn't just the testimony of a public figure, it was the careful unraveling of a public identity. He acknowledged it. "I was friends with him. I admired him." But then he said something that shifted the entire conversation. "There are things I saw, things I chose not to question." Ashton began outlining the group often referred to as the new Hollywood Rat Pack: Diddy, Danny Masterson, Wilmer Valderrama, and himself. What started as casual parties gradually turned into business dealings and eventually morphed into something else entirely. That something else is what federal prosecutors were now focused on, and it was no longer something Ashton could ignore. He spoke about how their gatherings evolved into what he described as staged environments. Everything about them was tightly curated, access was restricted, behavior was monitored, and most critically, nobody discussed what went on. "I didn't ask enough questions," Ashton admitted. "I should have." As the questioning intensified, the tone in the courtroom shifted. The prosecutor referenced a 2013 gathering at one of Diddy's private residences. Then came a pivotal moment. Audio evidence was introduced. The court heard faint background noise, music, laughter, indistinct conversations, until one voice came through clearly. It was Ashton's. "I don't think we should be recording this," he said on the tape. "Seriously, this is too much." Silence filled the courtroom. Another voice responded calmly, "Relax, it's all taken care of. They already signed." The prosecutor faced Ashton and asked directly, "Who were you talking about?" Ashton looked briefly toward the defense table, where Diddy sat motionless before replying, "Guests." He clarified, "Some were models, some weren't, but most of them weren't fully aware of what they were entering. They didn't really know what was going to happen," he added. The mood in the room had shifted. This wasn't about celebrity gossip anymore. It was about something deeper. Ashton's words pointed to a system of control. He described how the events were organized: private areas, no phones allowed, and non-disclosure agreements ready at the entrance. Everyone signed them. "Even I did," Ashton said. "Multiple times." Back then, it just seemed like the normal thing to do. He thought this was just how things worked in the industry, but now it felt different. "Now I wonder what I signed away without even realizing it," he said. He looked down briefly, then met the room's gaze again. "There was a whole side to those parties I never saw directly, but I could feel it, and when I finally did see it, I stayed silent." This was no longer about excuses. It was a man speaking honestly about what he overlooked, what he allowed, and who he shielded by keeping quiet. By this point, the courtroom wasn't merely listening. They were witnessing Ashton's carefully crafted image unravel. His hands shook, and his voice grew softer. He wasn't defending himself. He was releasing years of silence. Then his tone grew darker, more wary, less angry, more like someone searching for where a friendship went wrong. Then came the name no one expected him to say so plainly. He and Danny had been close, closer than most realized. Behind the scenes, things began to change. The prosecution played a clip from the notorious 2009 White Party, a charity event on paper. Ashton looked up at the screen, then admitted, "That was my idea. We said it was about giving back, but honestly, I think we were promoting something else." He didn't need to say more. The energy in the courtroom shifted. Everyone suddenly saw what had been hidden in plain sight. Ashton continued, "You don't get far in Hollywood without knowing when to keep quiet. I had money coming in, a public image to protect. I didn't want to ruin that." Then he revealed something the jury wasn't prepared for. It wasn't just a guest list. There was a blacklist. Ask too many questions, and the invitation stopped. Push too far, and you were cut off completely. And one name no one dared challenge. Everyone knew it. You don't cross Sean Combs. Then came the moment that broke the room's tension. Ashton's voice lowered and his tone shifted. "There was a woman at one of those events," he said. "But she wasn't famous, just a guest." He paused, looked toward the judge. "I won't say which celebrity she was with. The court blocked that out. But what she told me I never forgot." And he looked at him, eyes wide nervous, and whispered, "They told me not to talk." That was it. One sentence, but Ashton never forgot it. Mad Night changed something for me. He said it didn't feel like a party anymore. It felt like a place where silence was the price of entry. His eyes glanced over. He wasn't performing. He wasn't deflecting. "I'm here today because I was part of that circle," he said, "and I saw enough to know something was wrong. I just didn't do enough to stop it." Not a single person in the courtroom moved. The guy who played the goofball, the charming star, the smiling tech genius, was now a man saying what almost no one in Hollywood ever says out loud. I stayed silent, and that silence protected the wrong people. At this point, the trial stopped sounding like celebrity drama. It was starting to sound like something else entirely. The prosecutor asked a simple question, one that had only lived in blogs and online whispers until now. Was it? Freak Ashton didn't answer right away. You could tell he didn't even like saying the word "it's an event." He finally said private invite, only phones taken, sometimes guests blindfolded. He said it was sometimes pitched like performance art, but even he knew it wasn't. "Not really," he added quietly. His first one was in 2005. "I thought it was a theme party. He told the court I brought a date. You think 30 minutes I regretted coming." He didn't spell out what he saw. He didn't need to. He just said this. "There were cameras I didn't see until later. There were people who looked scared. There were doors you didn't open unless someone tapped you on the shoulder." Then came the digital evidence. The prosecution pulled a guest list off a C's laptop. Ashes. Name was on it, tagged with 2 words, green lights. Ashton nodded. "It meant I was trusted," he said. "I could go anywhere. I don't know what I did to earn that, but I knew what it meant." Then he talked about the paperwork. NDAs weren't just for guests. They were for everyone. Security, caterers, even performers. "I remember one NDA I signed in 2010, Ashton said, and it was 28 pages long. Despite that, we signed it anyway because back then, this was considered normal. Or at least that's what they wanted us to believe. Leaving wasn't just about walking away from a party." Ashton explained that it meant walking away from a whole network, a system, and if you left the wrong way, you weren't allowed back in. When Ashton finally decided to step away, he told Diddy he was done. But Diddy's response was clear. You don't quit. You're either in or out forever. That same week, 3 business deals collapsed. Then came a call from a mutual friend who said, "You made someone nervous." Ashton paused, looked at the jury, and admitted something unexpected from a man with such a polished image. "I wasn't just scared for my career. I was scared for my family." After revealing so much about the NDAs, the hidden rooms, and the blindfolded guests, what came next was even more unsettling because Ashton wasn't just talking about parties anymore. He was describing a system, something you didn't, Just attend but got pulled into, backed by people whose names nobody saw and protected by those no one questioned. When court resumed after a break, the prosecutor asked, "Mr. Kutcher, were the same people funding those parties also funding your ventures?" Ashton took a breath and said quietly, "Yeah." Much of it was connected, and most of them didn't ask questions because the money was good. He explained that Diddy didn't just open doors to record labels or movie studios. These were rooms filled with billionaires, finance executives, offshore fund managers, and international moguls, people who never appeared on TMZ but controlled Hollywood like puppet masters. They didn't just throw parties, Ashton said, they built entire companies around them. Some companies appeared as harmless lifestyle brands, others as media startups, but beneath the surface, they were recruitment hubs, surveillance tools, and silent partners in something far larger. One investor's name kept appearing in Ashton's ventures. Later, that same name was linked to offshore shell companies connected to Diddy. Ashton said the money was labeled as consulting or event services, but looking closer, those payments matched private gatherings. Same days, same properties. Ashton admitted he signed off on dozens of shell companies without fully understanding their purpose. "They told me it was to protect intellectual property," he said. "But looking back, I think it was to hide who was really paying." Then came the app, a nightlife startup he backed with millions in funding, a flashy brand, but it vanished quickly. That same app is now frozen under federal investigation for money laundering and tracking users without their consent. "I didn't know," Ashton said, his voice cracking, "but maybe I should have." Then he described another pitch from 2016, a new platform supposedly designed to help actors connect directly with producers. It seemed harmless until he reached a particular slide. It revealed discrete background screening, behavioral scoring, and psychological profiling. "It gave me chills," Ashton said. "I walked away from that one, but others didn't." At that moment, the courtroom understood this wasn't merely about wild parties or foggy memories. It was about an entire infrastructure, a system designed to appear glamorous and fun, but behind the scenes was tracking, controlling, and exploiting people. Ashton sat quietly, his voice low. "I didn't just invest in the machine," he admitted. "I helped build it. And when it turned ugly, I tried to run." The courtroom fell silent again. Ashton had spent the last hour exposing secret parties, NDAs, and disturbing details. Now he looked down for a moment, took a breath, and shifted the focus to himself. "It's not easy to walk away from something like that," he said. "You're not just leaving a party, you're leaving a whole system." He described the moment everything changed. In 2014, he told Diddy he didn't want to come around anymore. "It wasn't fun, it didn't feel safe, it wasn't me." That's when Diddy warned him, "You don't quit. You're in or you're out forever." It didn't sound like a threat, but Ashton understood it was. That same week, 3 of his business deals mysteriously fell apart. No emails, no formal cancellations, just silence. Then came a call from someone Ashton trusted, a mutual friend who said, "You made someone nervous." That was all it took for Ashton to realize the truth behind it. After that call, he didn't feel paranoid. He felt trapped. "I wasn't just worried about losing work," he explained. "I was scared for my family." He revealed something many don't realize. In Hollywood, silence isn't always enforced by threats or anger. Sometimes it comes when people stop returning your calls, when rooms go quiet as soon as you enter, and when promised projects simply vanish. Diddy didn't have to yell. Ashton said he just stopped responding. For a while, Ashton stayed quiet, hoping if he didn't speak out, everything would fade away. But then he received something that changed everything, a plain envelope with no sender or note inside. It contained a USB stick. "I plugged it in," he said. It was footage from a 2012 party. Nothing illegal, but deeply embarrassing, enough to ruin the clean image he had spent years building. "I got the message loud and clear," Ashton told the court. "They weren't warning me, they were reminding me." After that, Ashton tried a different approach. He began to pull away quietly, stepping back from ventures, ignoring some people, canceling dinners, and refusing party invitations. Almost immediately, the pressure intensified. Every time I tried to step back, he said, something would happen. Tabloid leaks, hacked emails, strange lawsuits, always something. He wasn't just being ignored anymore, he was being watched. Friends vanished from his life for weeks. Ashton thought he needed space until one day he received a call on a burner phone. You know too much. Get out. That's when Ashton realized this was no longer about personal choice. It was about control. The more he tried to distance himself, the clearer it became how deep the reach was. He wasn't just losing work, he was being targeted. It was early 2017. Ashton had avoided events, keeping a low profile, but unexpectedly he ran into Diddy at a high-profile charity gala in Los Angeles. Diddy smiled and hugged him like nothing had changed. Ashton recalled, he said, "I've been missing out." Then, Diddy leaned in and said something that froze Ashton in place. "You should be careful about what you don't remember." No anger, no shouting, just that one chilling line. Ashton knew exactly what that meant. Not long after that night, another envelope showed up at his office. No note inside. Just another USB drive containing footage from a 2012 party. Nothing illegal, but deeply humiliating and personal. That was their playbook, Ashton said. You don't have to scare people when you can embarrass them into silence. After that, he stopped trying to understand it all and focused on surviving. In 2018, Ashton received a call that shook him. It wasn't from the press or an executive. It was from a friend, someone deep inside their inner circle. The friend warned him a civil lawsuit was coming. One of the Rat Pack members was about to be exposed, but instead of panicking, the friend reassured him, "Don't worry, we'll handle it." That was the moment Ashton realized the truth. This wasn't about protecting the truth, he told the jury. This was damage control, and I was part of it. He had been involved in managing public image, running distraction campaigns, flooding the media with positive stories, orchestrating red carpet appearances and charity donations, all timed to drown out any negative attention. I thought I was just protecting my name, Ashton admitted, but I was helping them bury the truth. That's when he started quietly cutting ties. He reworked contracts, moved funds, and distanced himself from everyone involved. But even after leaving, Ashton realized the room never forgets you were there. By 2020, Ashton had done everything possible to restore his image. He shifted investments to charity projects, gave wholesome interviews, and filled his social media with family photos and startup successes. But behind the scenes, he was still running. I thought if I deleted enough, shut down enough accounts, cut enough ties, it would all disappear, he said. But it didn't. I was being followed by a shadow I couldn't shake. He began hearing Diddy's name again, not in clubs, but in courtrooms, not in songs, but in subpoenas. Then came the moment that broke everything. A clip surfaced from a party he had co-hosted with Diddy years before. The footage wasn't violent or graphic, but in it, Ashton was caught saying, "Just keep them calm until we start." The internet exploded. That wasn't what it looked like, Ashton told the court. We were filming a branding shoot. Or at least that's what he thought. But the public didn't care. The PR machine couldn't keep up. Endorsements vanished, investors backed out, and even his wife Mila was furious. She begged me to walk away from all of this years ago, he said. I didn't listen. Now my kids were asking questions. Why are there cameras outside? Why are people yelling Daddy's name? I didn't even know how to answer them, he admitted, because I didn't know how to explain it to myself. The courtroom fell silent, everyone knowing what came next. The topic shifted to Danny Masterson. Ashton's voice dropped as he said the name. Tension filled the room. We came up together, he said. We shared everything. Projects, parties, investors. He described the network they had built. Danny with connections in Scientology, Ashton with tech investors, and Diddy running entertainment. When Danny was first accused, it wasn't just lawyers who intervened. It was favors. Highest favors, Ashton said. People from every industry pulled strings, not to find the truth, but to bury it. He recalled a 2017 dinner after Netflix dropped Danny from the ranch. But that meeting wasn't just about the accusations, it was about controlling the fallout. Producers, lawyers, PR teams, and even one of Diddy's attorneys were there. Emails leaked during the court case showed Ashton offering to help manage the public narrative. "I thought I was helping a friend," he admitted, "but I was helping cover something up." Then he revealed how deep the system really went. "It's something we used to call the cleanup crew," he said. It wasn't a person, but a process. He broke it down into 3 levels: hush money, silent payments, opportunities, a job, a contract, a career boost, all to keep you quiet, then the blacklist, and if you still didn't play along, you disappeared. "Some people got a car," Ashton said. "Some people got a new movie role, and some just never got invited back again." The courtroom leaned in, now realizing this wasn't just about who did what, but how they got away with it for so long. His voice grew more focused as he described one night in 2015, a private, invite-only event overseas. A woman suffered a medical emergency and collapsed in one of the rooms. Security swept in quickly, quiet, professional. By morning, my entire room had been remodeled. "I saw the blueprint," Ashton told the court. They had covered the entire wall with mirrored glass, erasing any trace that anything had happened. It wasn't just damage control. It was erased, and it terrified him. Then came 2019. Danny was unraveling. The lawsuits were piling up, the walls were closing in. Ashton got a call. Danny was panicking. And what he said still haunts Ashton today. "If I go down, I'm not going alone. You know who signs the checks." Ashton didn't need further explanation. Everyone in their circle knew exactly what that meant. "That's when I knew," Ashton said. This wasn't friendship anymore. This was a threat disguised as loyalty. He began taking steps to protect himself, cutting off old contacts, pulling money from shared investments, quietly closing companies, deleting years of photos and emails from his cloud. But even that wasn't enough. By 2021, Ashton had pulled out of everything he could. Deleted photos, shut down companies, cut ties one by one. Still, it wasn't enough. Early in 2022, his wife Mila received a message. It wasn't loud or violent, just a photo of her and their kids at the park. Printed at the bottom was a line from a contract she had never signed. "It wasn't a threat," Ashton said. "It was a reminder. Even if you leave the party never leaves you." That was it, the line that pushed him from fear into action. "I got tired of erasing myself," he told the jury, "because the longer I stayed quiet, the more I became one of them." He started writing letters to people, not asking for forgiveness, just saying, "I see it now, all of it." Then came his final moment in court. Ashton turned to the judge. "If this court needs anything, emails, receipts, names, I won't fight it. I've done enough fighting for the wrong people." He stepped down from the witness stand, but without another word, the message was clear. The mask had fallen. The courtroom wasn't filled with stars anymore, just people who knew too much and stayed quiet too long. He left the stand, but his words hung in the room. Even after the recess, no one spoke. Not reporters, not Diddy's legal team, not even Diddy himself, because the damage had been done, and something had shifted. For 9 days, the trial had been about accusations, paperwork, whispers. But now there was a face to it, a voice, a confession. The moment Ashton stepped off the stand, the pressure began to spread. Whispers turned into phone calls. Phone calls turned into emergency meetings. From Los Angeles to New York, publicists suddenly became unreachable. Celebrities who once posted selfies with Diddy started deleting photos. Even entertainment lawyers grew nervous. And Diddy? Ashton sat still, jaw clenched, eyes forward, like a man watching a house burn, knowing there was no way out. "They were never going to say anything," a courtroom reporter whispered. But now that Ashton had broken, they're all scared. One former Bat Boy associate reportedly asked for protection. Another reached out to federal investigators before the court even adjourned. The prosecution wasn't chasing anymore.